My name's Oliver. I'm 32, and I live in Denver, Colorado. Tonight, I'm sitting alone in my small apartment, staring out the window at the city lights. They flicker like distant signals from a world I've never quite belonged to. There's something hauntingly beautiful about Denver after dark, cold, yet oddly comforting. Like it's holding secrets it might share if you're quiet enough. And I guess that's why I'm here, talking into the silence. Not just to pass the time, but to finally tell the truth. This is my story. The story of a man who looks ordinary on the outside, but carries wounds that never healed. Scars from childhood that still burn under the surface. By day, I'm a software engineer at a tech company downtown. Nothing flashy, just lines of code, broken logic, endless debugging. It's not a job that gets applause, but it gives me something I never had growing up: control. There's order in it, predictability. If something breaks, I can fix it. Unlike the chaos I was raised in, unlike the parts of my past that still echo through my life, no matter how many nights I spend trying to outgrow them. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Denver, in a tidy two-story house with a white fence and a garden my mum used to care for like it was sacred. On the outside, we looked like the perfect middle-class family. Dad worked at a bank, Mom taught second grade. My little brother Nathan and I went to school, played in the yard, followed all the rules. But if you think that makes us a happy family, you're wrong. My childhood wasn't made of warm hugs or laughter echoing through the halls. It was built on silence. Favoritism. The kind of emotional neglect you don't even recognize until you're old enough to feel the weight of it. From the beginning, I was the shadow. Nathan, 3 years younger, was the sun in everyone's sky. He had that golden look, blonde hair, ocean blue eyes, a smile like a magazine ad. People gravitated to him without effort. I, on the other hand, had messy brown hair, thick glasses, and the quiet habit of blending into walls. I didn't draw attention, but I earned it through hard work, through effort, through doing everything right. But in that house, it never mattered. Nathan shined without trying. I strained for scraps. I'll never forget my 8th birthday. My mum had promised me a small party, just a few friends, some games, and a chocolate cake. I'd marked the date on the calendar, counting down every morning like it was Christmas. But on the day, Nathan had a mild cold, barely a sniffle. Still, my mum cancelled everything. "You're a big boy, Ali, you understand, right?" she asked, not looking me in the eye. I nodded, even though my heart cracked a little. That night, she gave me a thin slice of cake at dinner. Nathan, pale and sniffling, got the bigger piece. "He needs cheering up," she said. I sat there quietly, wondering if I'd ever be someone worth choosing. That wasn't a one-time thing. It became a pattern. Birthdays, holidays, anything meant to celebrate, Menathon always found his way into the spotlight. One year, I won first place in the school science fair for a volcano I'd built with toothpicks and paint and way too much glue. I walked into the house holding that tiny gold trophy like it meant something. But inside, my parents were busy, helping Nathan rehearse lines for a school play audition. "Congrats, Oliver," Dad muttered, not even glancing up from the script. "Put it on the counter, I'll check it later." He never did. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Nathan. He's my brother. I love him. Even when that love feels twisted around a knot of old hurt. Nathan's not cruel. He just never had to struggle for anything. Our parents cleared every hurdle from his path. They paved his way with praise and second chances. Me, I learned early to survive without applause. I learned how to walk alone. There's another memory I can't seem to forget. The summer I turned 15. I earned a spot at a tech camp in Boulder, one of those rare chances that could change your whole life. It was about programming, the thing I already knew would shape my future. I spent months hustling, writing scholarship essays, mowing every yard in the neighborhood, and pitching it to my parents like my life depended on it. Eventually, they said yes. But just days before the camp, Nathan, my younger brother, suddenly wanted to go to some elite basketball clinic. "He's got real talent, Oliver," my mum said. eyes glowing. "We have to invest in Nathan." Just like that, the money I scraped together, my chance was funneled to him. I never saw Boulder. I spent that summer in our garage, fixing rusty bikes, trying not to let tears stain the cracked rubber of old tires. You'd think I'd get used to it, that I'd learn to brush it off. I didn't. Every time it happened, a piece of me chipped away. I started asking myself if I was the problem, if I wasn't worth loving like Nathan was. I pushed harder. I studied more, behaved perfectly, gave up everything I wanted to be the good son, the selfless brother, the one who kept peace by erasing himself. On the outside, I smiled and said it was fine. Inside, I felt like smoke always present, never seen. As I got older, the favoritism grew louder, clearer. Like the day I got my acceptance letter to the University of Colorado's software engineering program, my hands shook with excitement. I imagined their faces lighting up, my parents hugging me, telling me they were proud. But when I showed them, my dad just shrugged, and my mom's expression twisted with concern. "Oliver, honey, we don't have the money for your tuition," she said softly. "You know things are tight." I stood there stunned, the letter still in my hands. I knew we weren't wealthy, but they'd promised, said they were saving for college. I nodded, swallowing the ache, and started scouring for scholarships, juggling part-time work, trying anything to keep the dream alive. Fast forward 3 years, Nathan got into college too. Only this time, the rules changed. My parents didn't hesitate. They paid his tuition in full, drained their insurance policy, even dipped into retirement savings. I overheard Mum one evening, telling our neighbor, "Nathan just needs the right environment to flourish. He's got the drive to become something big." And me. I was grinding 12-hour shifts at a coffee shop, then sprinting to campus to tutor other students barely scraping by. My savings shrank while my debt swelled like a storm cloud over my head. I'm not telling you this to make you pity me. That's not the point. I just want you to understand what it's like growing up where love felt conditional, where I had to shrink so Nathan could shine. I learned to manage, to stand tall without applause. But the feeling of being invisible never really leaves. It lingers, like a fuse waiting for a spark. And eventually, that spark came. In a way I never could have seen coming. It was a gloomy October afternoon in Denver. The sky hung low like it was holding its breath. I'd just clocked out after a brutal day chasing down bugs in some messy code. My head was pounding from an email. My manager sent another deadline moved up. I got into my old 2005 Honda Accord, the one I'd bought from a coworker for cheap, and eased onto I-25. The radio played Sweet Child O' Mine. I sang the chorus quietly, trying to shake the weight in my chest. Then, it happened. Fast, violent. I couldn't even tell you the exact second it all went wrong. All I remember is the sound. The kind that slices through bone and memory at the same time. I glanced up, just as a truck swerved hard into my lane. No warning, no signal. I slammed on the brakes, but the road was slick from a light drizzle that had started earlier. The tires screamed as the car slid, and then impact. A violent metallic crunch sent my body snapping forward. The seatbelt, biting deep into my chest, the windshield exploded into a web of glass. My head smashed into something, maybe the steering wheel, maybe the window, I couldn't tell. Everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. The sterile smell of antiseptic hit me first, sharp and cold. My head felt like it had been cracked open with a sledgehammer, and my right leg was so heavy it felt cemented to the mattress. I tried to shift, and pain shot through me like fire. A soft voice came from beside me. "Easy. Don't move just yet. You just woke up." I blinked, struggling to bring the blur into focus. A nurse with a tight bun stood beside me, checking my FOR. Her eyes were calm, gentle, but alert. I croaked out, Where am I?" "University of Colorado Hospital," she answered smoothly. "You were in a car accident. You're stable now, but you've got a broken leg and a mild traumatic brain injury. We're monitoring everything carefully." I nodded faintly, absorbing her words, but what hit me harder than the injuries was the emptiness around me. No one, no familiar voice, no one holding my hand. I asked softly, "Has anyone come?" She hesitated. I saw it in her eyes before she said it, "Not yet. But you were just brought in a few hours ago. I'm sure someone will come soon." I forced a small smile, but deep down, I knew better. My parents, especially my mum, had their hands full with Nathan. They always did. I shut my eyes, trying to will away the sting in my throat. It wasn't the pain meds or the concussion. Making me dizzy, it was that hollow kind of hurt you can't patch up with stitches or pills. The next few days passed in a fog. Nurses came and went. Pain meds dulled my body, but they couldn't numb my mind. My leg stayed locked in a cast. My head throbbed less as time passed, but my chest just kept getting heavier. After 3 days, I finally had enough strength to grab my phone. My fingers trembled as I dialed. I didn't know what I hoped for, maybe just to hear her voice. To know I wasn't completely invisible. "Hello." My mum's voice came through, polite and distant. "Oliver, how are you? What did the doctors say?" I swallowed hard. "Car accident," I told her. "Broken leg, head injury. I'm at the hospital, might be here for a while." I hesitated, then asked, barely above a whisper, "Can you come? I really need you right now." The line went quiet. Long enough that I thought the call dropped. Then a sigh. "Oh, Oliver. I'm so sorry, but your dad and I are with Nathan right now. He's really upset. His girlfriend just broke up with him. He needs us. I know you understand." It was like someone reached into my chest and crushed my lungs. Nathan, again. Another breakup, another emotional disaster. He'd had a parade of girlfriends, each relationship treated like it was life or death. And I was lying in a hospital bed, broken, concussed, alone, and still, I was second place. I didn't say a word. I just listened to the silence that followed, louder than anything she could have said. "Mum." My voice quivered, barely audible. "I'm in the hospital. I was in a car accident. I need you." A pause, then her voice, flat and clipped, came through the phone. "Oliver, you're a grown man. You've always handled things on your own. I'll try to visit soon, but Nathan needs me more right now. Just get some rest, okay? I'll call later." And then the line went dead. I stared at the screen, motionless. It felt like something inside me cracked. The tears I'd kept buried for years came rushing out, hot and unstoppable. It wasn't the pain from my injuries. It was something far deeper. That moment drove the truth home. I would never be her priority. Never her first choice. Maybe not even her second. Maybe not even on the list at all. I drifted into a fog, hovering somewhere between the haze of morphine and broken memories. I dreamed I was back in our old house. Nathan was in the living room with our parents, their arms wrapped around him, smiling. I stood outside the door, pounding, screaming, begging to be let in. But they didn't hear me. They never did. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, heart racing. "Oliver, hey, are you okay?" A gentle voice pulled me back. I blinked against the brightness. It was the nurse, the one with soft eyes and a calming presence. She stood by my bedside, holding out a glass of water. "Rough dream?" she asked, concern in her voice. "You looked shaken." Still catching my breath, I nodded. "Yeah, just a nightmare." She gave me a warm smile. "I'm Monica, here, drink this. Talk about it if you want." I took the glass, grateful for the coolness against my throat. The name caught me off guard. Monica. It stirred something, but I couldn't place it. "You've worked here long?" I asked, just to distract myself. She laughed and sat down beside me. "About 3 years. But honestly, you look really familiar. Did you go to Lincoln High?" I froze. Yeah, I did." "How'd you know?" Her laughter danced in the air, her eyes lighting up. "We had bio together, junior year. Sat at the same table, remember? I was the one always borrowing your panzé." Suddenly, it hit me. Monica, quiet, kind, brown hair always in her face. I remembered how she'd smile and thank me every time I helped her. Monica. Holy crap, I said, suddenly smiling for the first time in what felt like forever. I can't believe it's you. I didn't recognize you at all. She pointed to her high ponytail with a smirk. Probably the hair, but you're still Oliver. Just a little more beat up. That made me laugh a real laugh. It surprised me. The weight I'd been dragging through those hospital halls lifted, just a little. Her presence lit up that dim room like sunlight through closed blinds. From then on, Monica wasn't just a nurse, she was a constant. She stayed after shifts, brought warmth to the sterile space. She'd tell me stories how she nearly torched her kitchen making lasagna, or how she trained her cat to stay off the dining table with nothing but a stern look. Her stories were simple, silly even, but they pulled me away from the pain, from the loneliness. One night, as she helped me with the bland soup the hospital insisted was food, the question just tumbled out of me. Monica, why are you so kind to me? I mean, I'm just a patient. You don't have to do all this. She looked at me, eyes searching. Then she gently set the bowl down. You're not just a patient to me, Oliver. Back in high school, I noticed you were always kind, quiet, patient, never the show-off, never mean. I knew you didn't have it easy. You used to talk about Nathan sometimes, how your family acted like he walked on water. I nodded, vaguely remembering those lunch conversations, the way I used to vent in whispers between bites of cafeteria food, she continued, voice softening. I was the same, always second place in my own house, always invisible. So, when I saw you again, I guess I just didn't want you to feel forgotten too. My younger brother was always the favorite. My parents made that painfully clear. I knew what it felt like to be invisible, to sit in the shadow of someone else's spotlight. So when you sat beside me in that sterile hospital room and said, I saw you alone and I didn't want you to feel like no one cared, it sliced through me, not as a wound, but like a key, unlocking a room I'd sealed shut for years. My chest tightened, my eyes blurred. Monica, I whispered. I'd called my mum earlier, pleaded with her to come. She said she couldn't. Nathan had just gone through a breakup, and he needed her more. Monica's eyes narrowed. Her jaw clenched, and she shook her head, her voice low and firm. He broke up with a girlfriend. And you're here, Oliver. Recovering from a near-death accident. That's not love. That's emotional neglect. The word neglect echoed like a drumbeat. I'd never dared put that label on my family. I told myself they were just, difficult, imperfect, but Monica Real was forcing me to see something I'd spent my whole life denying. I don't even know how to begin, I said, my voice barely audible. I've been trying to earn their love for so long, and it's still never enough. Monica reached for my hand, warm, steady, certain. Allie, love isn't a prize you win. It's something you're worthy of, just because you're you. But you've got to protect that worth, set boundaries. Not to punish them, but to heal yourself. I met her gaze and saw no judgment, just truth. And in that fragile silence, something inside me shifted. For the first time in my life, I felt like someone truly saw me. Not the son, not the brother, just me. In the days that followed, Monica never left my side. She helped me stand again literally and emotionally. Each painful step on the crutches, she was there, steadying me. When exhaustion took over, she read to me from The Alchemist, her voice soft and soothing. Between chapters, she told me her own stories about parents who played favorites, about the pain of walking away, and the freedom that followed. Her words didn't just comfort me, they lit a match. The idea of boundaries was no longer foreign. It was a lifeline. Then, one morning, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but I did. My father's voice, usually calm and controlled, was frayed with panic. Oliver, your mum told me about the accident. We're sorry we haven't visited. Things have been hard. But now, we really need you. The house had caught fire. It's gone. Everything was gone. I lay there in a stiff hospital bed, fingers trembling around the phone, mind spinning. The house, my childhood home, had burned to the ground. The place packed with memories, many of them bruising, had vanished in flames. I inhaled slowly, trying to steady the chaos inside me. Dad, is everyone all right? Are you, Mum, Nathan? Safe, we're okay, he answered, voice ragged. Nathan's fine too. But the house, Oliver, it's gone. Completely, everything's gone. Furniture, photos, even your mum's garden tools. Just ashes now. I shut my eyes and tried to summon the old image, the two-story White House, with the creaky porch and the fence she insisted on painting every summer. The garden she nursed like a second child. Nights sitting on the steps, pretending the stars had answers. It was all gone. But instead of grief, a numbness crept in. Maybe because that place never truly felt like mine. Never safe, never warm, just walls and expectations. What happened? I asked, though I already feared the answer. Dad sighed, that defeated kind of sigh. It was your mother. She was cooking for Nathan, and she forgot to turn off the stove. Left right after fire started in the kitchen. It spread so fast, by the time the firemen got there, there was nothing left. The silence between us thickened. She forgot, because she was too busy worrying about Nathan, again always Nathan, and I was in a hospital room, recovering from a fractured leg and constant migraines, with no visitors, no calls. And now, the whole house was gone. I'm sorry, Dad, I managed, my voice hollow. Where are you now? Is there anything I can do? He hesitated, like he was choosing his words with tweezers. We're in a motel, for now, but, Oliver, we've lost everything. Insurance might help, but it won't be enough. I was hoping, maybe you could pitch in a little. The words struck like cold steel. They didn't come when I was hanging between life and death. But now, with their world in ruins, suddenly, I mattered. I squeezed the phone tighter. Dad, I'm in a hospital bed. I can't even walk. I don't have much to give. You've always been smart with money, he pushed, tone sliding into desperation. Just a little something to help us stay afloat. You're the oldest, you understand, right? I didn't answer. I just hung up, not out of spite, but because it hit me like a crash of thunder to them. I only existed when they needed something. Later, I told Monica everything: the fire, the call, Mum's carelessness. She listened without interrupting, her face calm but unreadable. When I got to the part about Dad asking for money, she frowned deeply. They didn't visit when you were barely breathing. But now, they want help. She said, quiet but sharp. Oliver, don't you see how backwards that is? I know, I said softly, the guilt rising. But they're my family. I can't just— Family, she cut in gently, doesn't mean you have to keep bleeding for people who wouldn't offer you a bandage. They left you, Oliver. Now you have to choose you. Her words weren't cruel, they were honest. The kind of honest that makes something inside you finally wake up. I had spent so much of my life being the quiet one, the good one, the one who stayed out of the way. But in return, I got what exactly? Emptiness. This time, I wasn't going to play the savior. A few days after my father's call, I was still lost in a storm of memories. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw that old two-story house, the white picket fence, the creaky porch swing, all of it gone, swallowed by fire. That place, once my childhood haven, now a smoldering ruin. I couldn't even tell what I was feeling anymore, sorrow, rage, or maybe just a deep, gnawing void. Monica came by each day, arms full of cookies and chatter, trying to lighten the air, but I could see it in her eyes. She knew something inside me had fractured. You holding up Oliver? She asked one afternoon, voice soft and careful. I gave her a tight nod, not ready to bleed my hurt all over someone who didn't deserve it. Then, a few days later, while I was wincing my way through crutch practice with her steadying my balance, the hospital door creaked open, and there they were, my parents. Older, thinner, faces drawn with regret, or maybe just exhaustion. My dad's grey hair stuck out in every direction, his stare lost. My mum rushed to me, her eyes swollen and red, gripping my hand like she could rewind time. Oliver, sweetheart, she whispered, voice breaking, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how bad things had gotten. Seeing you like this, it shatters me. A part of me wanted to lean into her words, to believe they were real, to be the forgiving son again. But another part, deeper and darker, remembered every moment I was cast aside for Nathan. Remembered the empty birthdays, the overlooked achievements, the silent sacrifices. So I stayed quiet, that ache in my throat swelling. I waited, I watched. My dad shuffled closer, placing a trembling hand on my shoulder. His expression twisted with something like guilt. "You're looking better than we feared," he muttered. "The doctors say you'll be walking again soon. That's good. We've been so worried about you, truly." But then came the hesitation. His glance toward my mum like he needed her go-ahead. "Thing is, the fire destroyed everything. The house, the furniture, even the photos, all gone. We don't have a place to stay anymore, nothing left." Monica's presence beside me grew firmer, her hand gently brushing my back, grounding me for what was coming. I inhaled. Slowly, trying to stay calm. "I know, Dad," I said. "It's awful, but I'm lying in a hospital bed. I can't walk. I can't even work right now. I don't have the means to fix this." My mum's grip on my hand tightened, her tears brimming again. "Oliver," she said, her voice dripping with desperation. "You've always been our rock. You've always managed somehow. We just need a little help to get back on our feet. The insurance won't cover enough to rebuild, but you can help us, right? Just this one time." And there it was. Not a dagger to the chest, but something slower, more familiar. A song I knew too well. Just this once. "You're the eldest, you understand. Nathan needs us more." The phrases that had shaped my silence for years came rushing back like poison. I studied their faces, the cracks in their worry, the timing of their visit. Their concern hadn't brought them here. Their need had. Once again, I was just a lifeline, not a son. Monica took a step forward. Her tone was still, but her words were sharp. "With all due respect," she said coolly, "Oliver's not in a position to be anyone's savior right now. He's recovering from a head injury, he can't walk, he's barely stable, and still, you come here asking for money." Her voice didn't rise, it didn't need to. The truth in it was deafening. My parents flinched, caught off guard by her bluntness. My dad opened his mouth, then closed it. My mum turned her face, ashamed. For the first time, I didn't rush to comfort them. I didn't soften the moment. I didn't offer my usual, "It's okay," because it wasn't, not this time. I'd lost my childhood home, yes, but what truly burned away, in that fire, was my obligation. I wasn't the fixer anymore. I was the one worth saving now, who shows up only when it's convenient after they've ignored you, at your lowest. That's what I was staring at now. My mother had come rushing in, desperate and shaken, after the fire had gutted their home. But where had she been when I was lying in this hospital bed, fighting to breathe, praying anyone would show up? Monica stepped forward before I could say a word. "You didn't come when he needed you the most. And now you're here asking him for help. Don't you see how messed up that is?" My mother turned sharply toward her, her voice brittle with fury. "Who do you think you are, interfering in our family's business?" "I'm Oliver's friend," Monica replied, steady and unshaken. "And I've been the one showing up every day, when no one else did. He nearly died while you were busy consoling Nathan after his little breakup. And now, you come with your house in ashes, expecting him to fix everything for you. That's not love. That's manipulation." My dad jumped in, voice low, tight. "You don't get it. Nathan's fragile. He needs support. He's never been as tough as Oliver. And yes, the fire was our fault. But we have nowhere to go. Oliver's the oldest. That means something." The heat in my chest exploded. That damn word, again, responsibility. I'd lived with it wrapped around my neck like a leash for years. Always the one who gave, who stepped aside, who went without. Monica looked at me, silently urging, "Don't let them drag you back." She was right. If I didn't speak now, they'd keep taking until I had nothing left. I drew in a long breath. My ribs still sore, my hands shaking. "Mom, Dad," I said, my voice cracked but clear. "I'm glad you're alive. Truly, but I've heard this speech too many times. I've carried this family on my back for years. I gave up everything. And was left with nothing. That ends. Now," my mother blinked, stunned. My father froze. "I'll help," I continued, "but only with half the cost to rebuild. Nathan needs to take care of the other half. And one more thing, I want you to draft a will. Split everything evenly between us. No more pretending he's the only one who matters." Her mouth dropped open, eyes welling up. "Oliver, how? Could you say that we're a family? Nathan, he doesn't have your strength." "No, Mum," I said, my voice growing iron. "He's not a kid anymore. He's been babied long enough. If you want my help, those are my terms. Otherwise, I'm done." My father clenched his fists, his face hardened with something between grief and guilt. "You've changed," he muttered. "You're not the kind boy we raised." I gave a small, tired smile. "No, I'm still Oliver. But now, I know my worth. I'm not here to play the martyr anymore." They stood there for a long moment, silent. My mother cast Monica a cold glare, her lips pressed in bitter silence. Then they turned and left. No apology, no promise, just the quiet click of the hospital door behind them. The silence afterward felt heavy, but also freeing. I turned to Monica, took her hand in mine. "Thank you. If you hadn't been here," she smiled, soft and steady. "You were always strong, Oliver. I just reminded you." The days that followed felt lighter, even in my hospital bed. Monica kept visiting, sometimes with slightly burnt cookies, always with a smile that cut through the ache in my bones. But deep inside, a knot still lingered. Had I actually changed anything? Or had I just thrown a pebble into a storm? Then, nearly a week later, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my father, cold, to the point. "Oliver, we've started rebuilding. Nathan agreed to cover half, thanks." I stared at it, read it again, searching for something, anything. A sorry. How are you doing? A hint that he saw me now. But there was nothing. I put the phone down, sighed. Monica looked over from the chair beside me. She didn't need to ask. She just reached for my hand. And in that quiet, I knew I was finally done waiting for their love to look like love. The moment my face changed, Monica didn't miss it. "It's your family again, isn't it?" she asked softly. I gave a small nod, showing her the text message. "I didn't expect some heartfelt apology," I muttered, voice tight. "But I guess I thought anything might have shifted after all this." She tilted her head, eyes filled with quiet concern. "Ali, you did the hard thing. You drew a line. But don't expect them to meet you where you are. They may never get there. What matters is that you're not letting them dictate how you feel anymore." She was right. I knew that. But some small part of me, the boy who spent years chasing scraps of affection, still clung to the impossible idea that one day they'd truly see me. The next morning, reconstruction on my parents' house officially started, but it didn't go the way I'd pictured. My dad called with updates here and there apparently. The structural damage was far worse than the initial assessment, and the costs had nearly doubled. I listened, but I kept my distance. "Dad," I said evenly, "I'm paying for half. You, Mum, and Nathan have to cover the rest." There was silence on the other end, followed by a long sigh. "You've gotten tougher, Oliver," he said. I didn't answer. He didn't need to hear that this so-called toughness wasn't anger, it was self-preservation. Just like I figured, Nathan didn't take it well. He fired off a long message, laced with guilt and frustration. "You know I'm not swimming in cash," it read. "Why would you box me in like this? You're the older brother. You're supposed to look out for us." Reading it felt like staring into a mirror of who I used to be, the guy who believed that loyalty meant burning myself down for others. I typed back just one line. "Nathan, you're not a kid anymore. This is on both of us." He didn't reply. But later, Dad mentioned Nathan had asked a buddy for a loan to cover his share. Bit by bit, my parents started to acknowledge the disparity in how they'd treated us. Tentatively, grudgingly, during one call, my mum's voice cracked. "I know. You're still hurt, Oliver. I never meant to do that. I just... I thought I was doing what was right for both of you." I didn't argue. "I'm not angry," I told her quietly. "I just wanted to be fair." She didn't say anything more, but there was a pause long enough to know she was sitting with those words. Maybe not ready to own her part, but no longer ignoring it either. Just as I'd asked, the will was revised. Dad emailed me a copy, a straightforward clause confirming that everything Nesset's property, savings would be split 50-50 between Nathan and me. I stared at the PDF, longer than I'd expected. It brought a sense of calm, not closure, but something like it. Still, I wasn't foolish enough to believe a piece of paper could fix years of imbalance. My relationship with them was still on edge, like a fraying rope under tension. But now... I wasn't afraid of it breaking. I'd learned to live without needing to be held. After nearly a month in the hospital, the doctor finally gave me the all clear. Discharge day came with clear skies and that sharp Denver winter air that bites just enough to remind you you're alive. Monica was right there, helping me shove clothes into a faded canvas duffel. "You ready to step back into the madness, tough guy?" she teased, shooting me a wink. "Not even close," I grinned, leaning on my crutches. "But with you, I think I'll survive." She drove me home, back to my modest apartment tucked into a side street downtown. When I opened the door, it felt oddly unfamiliar, like a place that had been paused while I went through a war. The same cluttered desk, the shelves still stacked with technical manuals, the worn-out couch where I used to binge old movies was all still there. But I wasn't. The crash, the aftermath with my family, and the time I'd spent with Monica had reshaped something inside me. Those first few days back home after being discharged were tough. I wasn't just readjusting, I was relearning how to live. My legs still ached constantly, forcing me into physical therapy 3 times a week. Work was on pause. My company granted me paid leave, but I knew the clock was ticking before I'd have to go back or start dipping into savings. I eased in by coding from home a few hours each day. Though migraines would often bring me to a full stop, Monica quickly became the anchor I didn't know I needed. She came by almost every evening, arms full sometimes with takeout, sometimes with home-cooked meals like her famous pasta in tomato sauce, which she swore was a family secret. We'd collapse onto the sofa, eating, talking, or just watching old films in peaceful silence. Those quiet, shared nights felt like home. Like I'd finally stepped into something I'd been searching for, but never found. One night, as we re-watched The Breakfast Club, Monica turned to me, her eyes steady and unreadable. "Oliver, have you thought about what comes next? After all of this?" I paused, caught off guard. Was I ready to answer that? "I don't." "No," I admitted, my voice lower than usual. "I guess I'm just trying to make it through the days. Not let the big stuff drown me. What about you? What do you see ahead?" She gave a soft smile, though her gaze remained serious. "Think about living a life I won't regret. I used to bend myself trying to make my parents proud, but now, I just want to live for me, and I want that for you too, Oliver." Her words hit a place inside me I hadn't touched in years. I looked at her then, not just as the woman who'd stood by me when everything went dark, but as someone I wanted in every chapter ahead. I reached out, took her hand gently. "Monica, I can't promise you some perfect life, but I promise I'll show up. I'll try every day to be someone worthy of standing beside you." She looked down, cheeks flushed, but that smile broke through. "Deal. But only if you stop whining about my lasagna, got it?" We didn't rush into anything. What we built was quiet and intentional. Slow walks around the neighborhood while I hobbled on crutches, her helping me reorganize my bookshelf as we argued over whether Dune or The Lord of the Rings deserved the top spot. Evenings where she fell asleep mid-chapter, the book slipping from her hands to the carpet. We never labeled it, not at first. But I knew, deep in my chest, that Monica had become the center of my world. At her gentle urging, I started therapy. It wasn't easy. Each session felt like peeling off a scab that had grown thick over the years, talking about my family, the rejection, the belief that I was somehow unworthy of being loved. But something shifted each time I left that office. Like I was unloading weight I didn't realize I carried. My job eventually leveled out. After 3 long months, I returned to the office. My team welcomed me back with chocolate cake and warm embraces. "You're a fighter, Oliver," one coworker told me. I smiled, but the truth was what strength I had left. It came from Monica, from the therapy, and from finally learning that I had every right to draw a line in the sand. My entire circle, my chosen family, had kept me grounded. As for my real family, my parents moved into a temporary rental while the wreckage of our old home was being replaced. I didn't reach out much, just the occasional check-in call. Lately though, my mum had started asking about my well-being. More often, whether I was eating enough, if I needed groceries. I could tell she was trying, even if her gestures felt stiff, rehearsed. But I wasn't ready to let my guard down, not yet. Maybe not ever. Healing isn't linear for any of us. To my surprise, Nathan started changing too. One evening, out of nowhere, he called me. There was no bitterness in his voice, no passive-aggressive edge. "Hey bro, I've been looking for a side gig," he said. "I don't want mum and dad worrying so much anymore." I didn't know what triggered the shift. Maybe the burden of the rebuilding. Maybe reality finally hit that he couldn't coast on our parents forever. Whatever it was, for the first time in a long while, I saw something faint but real in him. Not hope for the family as a whole, but for him as an individual. A year passed. I stood in my cozy apartment, warm amber lights dangling above, casting soft shadows across pale walls. It wasn't a large space, but tonight, it overflowed with voices, with joy. Laughter echoed between the walls. Wineglasses clinked. The rich scent of roasted meat filled the air. Monica's masterpiece. I scanned the room. Friends from college, co-workers from the startup, and Monica herself, floating gracefully from guest to guest, her smile lighting up every corner she touched. What I hadn't expected, what I hadn't planned for, was the quiet presence of my parents and Nathan, tucked in the back corner, slightly out of place, but trying, making an effort. For months, I'd wrestled with the idea of inviting them. This gathering had been meant for people who had stayed by me, who had seen me through my darkest hours without blinking. A celebration of survival, not of history. But Monica, as always, had cut through my storm with her calm. "Oliver," she'd said, gently folding the invite list in her hand, "letting them come doesn't mean you're forgiving everything. It just means you're strong enough to look them in the eye on your terms." And she was right. So I sent the message. I hadn't expected a reply. When they said they'd be there, my chest tightened, something between dread and curiosity. The night turned out brighter than I'd dared imagine. Friends reminisced about our college antics. My colleagues playfully roasted my obsession with black coffee and early morning productivity. Monica, the calm in my chaos, kept things running smooth. She wore a simple green dress, hair pinned loosely, and moved with a quiet confidence that made it hard not to watch her, admire her. This woman had rebuilt me from rubble without asking for credit. She didn't just heal the wounds, she taught me to own the scars. At one point, I glanced toward the dining table. My parents and Nathan were still there, chatting cautiously with some of my friends. My mom caught my gaze. She didn't look away. There wasn't guilt in her eyes this time, or the defensive edge I'd grown used to. Just something softer, thoughtful. As if maybe for the first time, she was truly seeing me. Not the version she'd tried to mold, but the man I'd become without her blueprint. Nathan, surprisingly, looked more relaxed than I'd imagined. He shared a story about his new job, some sales role at a young tech company, and for once, I noticed something that stopped me cold. Not a single mention of our parents. No fallback, no name-dropping, no safety net, just him, standing on his own 2 feet. It was the first time I saw him that way, as his own person. Halfway through the evening, my father stood up, gently tapping his wineglass. The quiet clinking sliced through the chatter, drawing all eyes. My pulse kicked up. I didn't know what he was about to say, and I wasn't sure I wanted to. "I'd like to share a few words," he said, voice wavering, but clear. "Today's special not just because we're celebrating together, but because we get to see Oliver, our son, stronger and more joyful than we've seen in years." Then he turned to face me directly, eyes wet, face soft. "Oliver," he said, pausing like the next words took real weight to carry, "your mum and I haven't always gotten it right. We've made bad calls. We've treated you unfairly. And we've caused you pain. I'm deeply, truly sorry." Beside him, my mother reached for his hand. Her eyes brimmed with tears that finally spilled as she spoke. "I'm sorry to Oliver," she said, her voice catching. "I didn't see how much I was hurting you until Monica came into our lives." She turned toward Monica then, smiling with something I hadn't seen in years, sincerity. "Monica, you're extraordinary. You didn't just support Oliver when we let him down, you helped him find strength we failed to give. And somehow, you helped us see who we'd become. Thank you, truly." The room quieted, heavy with emotion. Monica, seated beside me, flushed pink and looked down, unsure how to handle the attention. Under the table, her hand found mine and gave it a soft, steady squeeze. "I didn't do anything special," she murmured, voice trembling slightly. I saw how amazing Oliver is. I wanted him to feel loved, because he deserves that. Everyone does." Then Nathan stood, which, frankly, caught me off guard more than anything else that night. He scratched the back of his neck, eyes darting nervously around the room before finally locking with mine. "Hey bro," he said, half smirking. "Look, I know I haven't exactly been brother of the year. I was so used to everything being handed to me, I didn't see what that cost you. I messed up. I hurt you, but I'm working on it. Thanks for not walking away, even when I probably deserved it." I looked at him, then at my parents. The weight of years of silence and sharp edges pressed in on my chest. But for once, I didn't feel crushed by it. I felt seen. 12 months ago, I never would have imagined this moment. Back then, I lived like a ghost in my own family, convinced I'd always be the afterthought. But tonight, something had shifted. These people, the ones who had broken me, were trying to piece things back together. I stood up slowly, raised my glass, and tried to keep the lump in my throat from taking over my voice. "Thanks, everyone, for being here," I began, my eyes sweeping the room. A year ago, I couldn't have imagined hosting a party like this or feeling this kind of peace. I've been through a lot. The accident, the fallout with my family, the doubt. There were days I honestly questioned if I mattered. My gaze settled on Monica. But the truth is, I didn't need validation to be whole. I just needed honesty. And tonight, for the first time, I think we're all finally being honest. "Love," I looked at Monica, her smile a quiet anchor in the chaos, and suddenly, it clicked. She wasn't just my partner, she was the person who reminded me I never had to break myself just to be loved. Monica showed me that family isn't only the people tied to you by blood, but those who choose you, who stay. She helped me draw lines not to shut people out, but to protect the parts of me I used to give away to isolate. I turned to face them, my parents, and Nathan. "Dad, Mum, Nathan, thank you for showing up tonight, and for saying what you did." My throat tightened, but I kept going. I don't know what's ahead for us, but if there's going to be a future, it has to be different. It has to be fair. I paused, breathing in deeply. This past year taught me something I never expected. My peace doesn't rely on anyone else changing. It starts with how I choose to live. And I choose to live with self-worth and love for who I am. The room broke into applause. A few friends whooped and clapped, their energy shaking loose the tension. Monica leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "You crushed it, Oliver." I gripped her hand, my chest swelling. As the night drew on and guests trickled out, my parents hugged me, something softer in their eyes. My mother leaned in, her voice a hush. "I'm proud of you, Oliver. I promise I'll try harder." My father nodded, his hand firm on my shoulder. "Nathan, Before leaving, murmured, "I'm not perfect, but I'm trying, man." "I know," I said quietly, offering a small smile. Once the door clicked shut, the apartment felt calm again. Just Monica's soft humming drifting from the kitchen as she tidied up. I stood still in the golden warmth of our home, the echoes of laughter fading into memory. Tonight wasn't special because of apologies or even the crowd. It was because, for the first time, I felt like I was really living as myself. I joined Monica at the table, grabbing a towel, while she rinsed dishes. The way the light caught her hair, that soft chestnut glow, found myself smiling without even meaning to. This woman had flipped my entire world. "You look tired," I teased. "Running around playing host all night. I'm worried you'll collapse before we're done." Monica chuckled and tossed a glance over her shoulder. "Oliver, I'm a nurse. I've done 14-hour shifts without blinking. But honestly, I didn't think tonight would go this well. What about you?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I walked to the window, staring out at the blanket of stars draped over Denver. A quiet current moved through me, not loud, but deep. Tonight wasn't just good. It was everything. Not because of them. Not because of the party, but because for the first time, I felt whole. I shut my eyes and let the feeling roll through me, gratitude. Not just for the people who showed up, but for Monica, for life, for the chance to finally be enough. She didn't just show up at the hospital. That day she showed up for me in ways no one else ever had. She didn't fix me. She helped me see I wasn't broken. That love didn't require erasing myself. That setting limits was strength, not rejection. I didn't know how I got lucky enough to have her, but I was endlessly grateful that she stayed. My mind drifted back to the accident. The smell of antiseptic, the ceiling tiles I memorized while wondering if I'd ever walk again. Some days, I didn't think I'd make it. And yet here I was. Not because I was extraordinary, but because I had Monica. I had people. And I had something I never had before, the belief that I was worth the fight. I thought about my parents, about Nathan. They had failed me, cut me down when I needed lifting, but they came tonight. They tried, maybe late, maybe imperfect, but they tried, and I was thankful for that. I didn't know what the future would look like, and that was okay, because for the first time, we were all moving forward step by step, trying to make something better, something fair. And this time, I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. ChatGPT, Noi. Monica stepped over and set a fresh plate on the rack before sliding her arms around my waist. "What's going on in that head of yours?" she teased, her voice warm and curious. I chuckled, drawing her in until I could rest my chin on the crown of her head. "Just feeling thankful," I murmured. "Thank you, Monica, for making this night feel like home." She tilted her head into my chest and whispered, "We're in this together, Oliver. Don't ever forget that." I held her close under the soft amber kitchen light, the stars outside twinkling like they knew our secret. What I've come to realize is that life isn't about waiting for others to treat you right. It's about knowing your worth, standing your ground, and embracing the ones who see you clearly. Monica became my clarity. My family gave me strength. And in that quiet moment, I was no longer the man chasing fairness. I was a man who'd found it. Not in grand victories, but in the peace of a shared embrace on an ordinary night.